Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 420 for the 19th of April for the Ukraine war in Ukraine. Yeah, Ukraine war in Ukraine. Yeah, yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, this is actually previous information because I just thought it was. And let's start off with everyone's favorite topic, Bakhmut. So in Bakhmut, there is further progress in the northern front, with the Russian forces continue to make progress in the north. Fighting is reported over Kopakovoy Street. According to SITREP maps in their mapping, they shows the Russians continue to make progress in this area here. And so there's also fighting reported at Lovanevskoho Street as well as at around the hospital area. For Surya maps, their mapping still have not catch up with what it seems to be shown by Riber. Riber's mapping, or at least based on their information, is already at this point. Surya map is still around here. Over in the more central area, there's fighting along the entire railway line, entire stretch of railway line, according to Remelin 21, which is pro-Russian source. And in the south, there was this previous salient that the Ukrainian pro-Ukrainian sources refused to concede, while the Russian sources has already pushed out at least this area. Latest information from a geolocation from a video suggests that the Russian forces have already overrun this area here. So as a result, Deep State UA has updated their mapping to show that the Russian forces has taken the entire eastern part of the area in Bakhmut, eastern part of the railway lines. Yeah, in Bakhmut, and the Ukrainians have already redrawn over to the other side, onto the western side. And fighting is reported still around in the area of the railway station number 2. Surya Maps actually updated this first, and after that I managed to confirm this information on the Deep State UA's mapping. And moving away, in the northwestern part of Bakhmut city, we have fighting reported at Kromove. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that there is fighting reported near the settlement of Kromove, and so the Russian forces is still trying to attack this area here. And of significance was this report. As you can see, Surya Maps, Deep State UA, and Remelin, neutral, pro-Ukrainian, and pro-Russian, all reported the same thing about the Russian forces making progress too close to the road where the Ukrainians needed to do reinforcement and resupply. Previously, the road was closed for a while because of the Russian forces, and then it was reopened with the threat of getting shelled by artillery. Now I think it's going to be closed again with the Russian forces within rifle shooting distance to the road. And according to Remelin, they say that the road is not physically reached yet. They're still fighting over the hill just off the road, where the Ukrainians have a very strong defense line dug in this area here. However, the street itself can be shot through with small arm fires. So which is why this road is basically unusable at this moment, based on this information, which is quite detailed from Remelin. I'm still trying to figure out how he managed to have so much details, but so far his information do check out, which is why I can continue to use his information until otherwise. And in the southwestern part of Bakhmut city, Bakhmut city is here, and we have Ivaniske and Stupovsky. So the Ukrainians have launched a major counteroffensive in this area to push back the VDV forces that is currently holding up this position, protecting the southern flank for the Wagner's forces to focus in Bakhmut. So the information comes from the Russian Defense Ministry and Riber. So Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainian troops counter-attack with assault detachment close to Stupovsky and Krasnoye, which is actually Ivaniske. And usually I do not copy and paste this information about the estimated losses within the battles here, but no, the number seems a little high as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that the losses is up to 380 Ukrainian soldiers in this direction, including 1 tank, 2 IFV, 5 and armored fighting vehicles, which is also IFV, 8 motor vehicles, and 2 artillery, 1 grad. So it seems like a lot of, mainly by the infantry numbers, that seems a lot, like it's just unusually a lot compared to what I usually read. So which is why I want to highlight this could be quite a major offensive operation by the Ukrainians, which is why I put this in just to highlight this information. Otherwise, Ryba simply mentioned that the Ukrainians managed to concentrate enough forces to launch a counterattack. This information is repeated in the Stupovsky region. Ryba also reported this, and they said that the Ukrainians managed to gain some kind of foothold in Stupovsky, which is sort of weird because they said that previously it was in the gray zone. However, Stupovsky is pretty far away from the front line here. So I'm not exactly sure what does Ryba mean. Could the Russians actually be a lot nearer, to this area where they can actually they were actually pushing this much nearer than what we thought it was. But yeah, Ryba don't really release close-up maps nowadays, so it's really hard to tell what exactly they were actually referring to. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. And there is quite a number of aircraft getting shot down, which is kind of a lot actually. There is Sukhoi 25 shot down over the Dovhenki, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And then there is another MiG-29 shot down over Serhievka, and then at Novoukrenka, which is here. All these are shot down by the Russian Air Force. And then there was another Sukhoi 25 shot down over Voleda, but this is by air defense. So 4 different aircraft, 2 Sukhoi 25, 2 MiG-29 getting shot down over Ukraine. And this is unusual because we don't really have a lot of shoot downs in recent times. And this number of shoot downs is a signal that maybe something major is happening at this moment. That see so many aircraft getting taking risk in the front lines. So yeah, just something for you to note. And moving on to the Avdiivka Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the usual continues, with the Russians continue to push at Novokalinove, Stupove, towards Avdiivka on both sides, Sivene, Vodian, and Pervomaisky, as well as Nevelsky. Going to details, we have information of fighting near Novobakhmutivka according to Deep State UA, where Russian troops on 2 IFVs tried to storm Nevelsky. Sorry, Nevelsky is actually the one below, which is this one. The information is talking about this one. The fighting was only mentioned about Novobakhmutivka. They did not give you the details, but you can see fighting for Nevelsky. This town here is they only sent troops with 2 IFV. This is hardly enough to actually really overrun this area here, and you can see that the attempt is really half-hearted. If you ask me, this is just probing, and yeah, it's just the commander sending people to die, as far as I can tell. There's fighting reported at Pervomaisky and Zevene, according to War Gonzo and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Fighting is at Vodian, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And then War Gonzo mentioned that there is a massive artillery and air force strike supporting Russian forces to approach in the southwestern direction towards Avdiivka. And so War Gonzo is the only one mentioning about this, so it's unclear how credible this information is. We shall see if this can be corroborated by other sources in time to come. And of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned there's fighting at Avdiivka, which I usually will assume that is coming from this direction, and moving towards the coke plant around here. So this is what I think is usually happening. And there is fighting reported towards Bedaichi and Stupove, according to War Gonzo as well. So yeah, I simply report it as west of Krasnohorivka because it's basically more or less the same region. So this is just this push. Yeah, but if if in general there isn't really a lot of change in terms of the front line, it's still more or less the same thing. It just feels like the Russians are just putting pressure rather than actually really wanting to close that pincer. And moving on to the Voleda region, which is very happening nowadays. It's getting more and more happening. Other than the two aircraft that is getting shot down, the MiG-29 and the Sukhoi 25, probably the MiG-29 is actually covering the Sukhoi 25. So maybe, you know, they're operating more or less together at the same time. And there is a lot of actions happening around this area. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, there is a DRG operations near Volodymyrivka. And similarly, when they talk about this direction, this area here, all the way to, you know, yeah, in the Donetsk Front, in the western part of Donetsk, it seems a bit high. 120 Ukrainian troops dying in their numbers. So I mean, you can take it with a pinch of salt. It's really up to you. But yeah, it just seems quite a bit. And there is shelling reported in the area of Voleda, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians actually tried to attack in the Voleda region and the Palivka region. Palivka is actually, according to War Gonzo, and it's, yeah, unusual. The Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Palivka. I don't think there is actually Russian offensive moving in this direction. It just doesn't feel it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel like it's happening. Yeah, so no, that's what I think. And moving on away into the, let's go to Zaporizhia since we're just nearby. At the Zaporizhia line, there is, as the usual, the Russians are bombarding Kayamsky, Malatomashka, as well as at Shevone. Interestingly, Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reported that there is actually fighting in the area, in the dachas of Mafopil. So in the Zaporizhia region. So this is Mafopil, and it's actually under Russian control. And then the Deep State UA says that there is fighting in this area here in the dachas for some time already. And this is not mentioned by any sources, so this is very interesting. They say that there is certain level of success by the Russian side. I would say, you know, don't take it, it's not very important just yet. I think it's just positional fighting, I guess. It doesn't feel like, you know, some major offensive. It could be also the Russians just trying to, you know, probe and trying to push Ukrainian forces towards this direction as a kind of a diversionary attack. It just doesn't feel like any kind of offensive that is actually deliberate or meant to do anything that is significant. And over at the very end of the Zaporizhia line at the Velika Novosibirsk region, interestingly, the Russian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Neshkushny, which the Ukrainians are reportedly, you know, sending DRGs out in this area here. But as I mentioned earlier, the death number seems a bit high, so it doesn't feel like a DRG operation. It feels more like a mini offensive. So moving away from the Zaporizhia line, let's go to the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, you can see there's some blue icons and some red icons. A lot of conflicting information. So in the Serebryansky Forestry, a Deep State UA and the pro-Ukrainian source, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported there is fighting. The Russians are actually making offensive in this area here. Somehow Ryba reported that the Ukrainians are attempting a counterattack. So instead, it's this direction, in this way. So I'm not sure which is the correct one. So there is some conflicting information between the Russian and the Ukrainian side. Sorry for my yeah. So it feels a bit confusing tentatively. Let's wait and see how this goes. Shelling is being reported at Dibrova, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Fighting is reported at Torsky, according to Myroshnikov, the pro-Ukrainian source. And he basically mentioned Torsky to Novoselivsky. Basically, he's talking about the entire line, entire front line, which feels very lazy. I cannot take such information very seriously because it's too much. And Ryba reported the Ukrainians also counterattack in the forest west of Kreminna, which is this. I don't know. So yeah, I drew it here. So because this is directly west of Kreminna, and I'm not too sure, or maybe they are talking about this area, but this is not west. This is southwest. So yeah, there is fighting reported at Terny according to War Gonzo, and the Syria maps reported that the Ukrainians actually captured grounds west of Chervonopopivka. This information is somewhat corroborated by Ryba. Ryba simply mentioned that the Ukrainians are trying to regain the initiative in the area of Chervonopopivka. But they did not mention the Ukrainians having any success. So the front line is actually probably around here along the border of Luhansk and Donetsk. And Surya Maps is very aggressive. He drew the map in this way, saying that the Ukrainians basically captured this entire forest area here just off Chervonopopivka. I cannot confirm this information, so it feels a bit aggressive, because this is actually quite a distance. This is like 2.5 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers to almost 3 kilometers into where the front line was. So it feels a bit much. It doesn't feel like it's real. So, and then there is shelling reported at Nevsky according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and there is according to War Gonzo, they say that the Russians are actually attacking. Yeah, so not sure. War Gonzo's information have to be taken with a pinch of salt. So that's it. Moving on to the Sivers Front. At the Sivers Front, there is no fighting at the Sperne or Verkhamokanyamsky. The fighting mainly is at below Horivka, according to Mario Shinikov, the pro-Ukrainian source. Otherwise, on the Russian side, they only mention shelling at Horivka. And there's interesting information. There is this information of the destruction of a pontoon bridge, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. This pontoon is across the Sivinsky Donetsk River. However, they say that it's near Sivers Mauli or Mauli. I cannot find this location, Sivers Mauli. Only Sivers. So only this. So I'm not sure if it's the same pontoon that was previously reported across Serebranka, or is it the one at Dronivka. So yeah, I'm not very clear exactly where this is. So yeah, take it with a pinch of salt, I guess. And moving on to the Kupyansk front. At the Kupyansk front, we have geolocation of Russian forces still at the forest line here. So this actually allowed us to confirm, and also Deep State UA also updated their map to show that our front line, the Russian front line, is actually correct. And then there is fighting reported at Liman Pershi. According to Deep State UA, the Russians reportedly are attacking. However, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainians are attacking at Sinkivka with DRG operations as usual. They always say it's DRG. Everything is DRG to them. And so not sure who is actually on the offensive in this sense. And then over at the Peshko-Shavneve, there is shelling being reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Deep State UA say that the Russians are attacking. So again, yeah, maybe it's just shelling and attacking at the same time. And then there came out a new place reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They name dropped this location called Zagoryokivka or Zagoryokovka. So this is this is the first time I see this location. I've geolocated this to be this area here. So in this area here, and so basically the information is simply about shelling. I cannot really tell if there's actually any settlement in this area, but it seems I managed to find this location online, and the geolocation is actually here, which is actually accurate because this is where the front line is. The front line is only just here, so this makes sense. So yeah, another location. And then there's fighting reported at Olyansky according to the Russian Defense Ministry in this direction. And as I mentioned, it seems a lot just by the shelling and the stopping of the two DRGs they claim 120 Ukrainian troops are killed. So yeah, it's really a lot. I just feel it's just unusual. It could be a sign that the Ukrainian offensive might have started. I'm not sure. And then there's shelling reported at Ivanivka as well as at Kolyarivka. And these are all information from the Russian Defense Ministry. And moving into the Sviatove front, this is Sviatove. At the Sviatove front, there's shelling reported at Novoselivske, and that's all we have from the Sviatove front. And that's all for the summary for the day of 420 for the 19th of April. And do subscribe if you are new to this channel. I'm sure you will fall in love with me over time. And also do press the like button. Do share this, spam this everywhere. To people that have no interest in this thing. Just share it to them and say that there's pretty girls in the video. And I'll see you in the next update.